the monkeypox, you write about something called psychological bioterrorism, which is pretty interesting. I'm expecting this to be big in the book. And by the way, let's have you back when the book drops, because I'd love to spend an entire episode on the book. But it's really interesting how you talk about it, because it feels like we've talked about pieces of it, but never really nailed into what you say. What do you see with the monkeypox and Tedros talking again? And I don't know, what should we be aware of? What do you see there? And just final thoughts on that.
So quickly, credit where credit's due. There was a 2017 interview in New Zealand that a follower pointed me to by a former Russian SVR agent who's a specialist in bioterrorism, who gave this lengthy interview talking about information bioterrorism, or information bioterrorism blackmail, or his phrases. And when I read this thing, it blew my circuits, because he laid out it basically as commonly known spycraft, a series of steps that are used in what I have reframed as psychological bioterrorism, because I think that's a more appropriate term. Just like the disaster capitalism that Naomi Klein talks about, I think is better called disaster cronyism, because she's coming from the left and she wants to slam capitalism in general, and she makes some assumptions that this is really capitalism, but it's not, it's cronyism. And it's another key term in this. But Alexander Kozimov, in this interview, pre-COVID, lays out this series of steps in spycraft terms. This is how we do it. We build a narrative. This is how we build it. We inject these false narratives into the scientific literature and get scientists, and then we build it. It snowballs, and then it gets exploited in these different ways. And this is the strategy, how we do it. And then in the end, we want to keep that topic alive, because after we've achieved whatever the objectives are, destabilization of a government or financial benefit, if you're a pharma or whatever the thing is, whatever the goal is in implementing this strategy, then we want to keep the topic area alive so that we can reuse it again, because now the public has been trained, like Pavlov's dogs, to respond to those keywords in that messaging. And so it's the gift that keeps on giving. You can repurpose it endlessly. Monkeypox is one example of that. And we obviously had the big monkeypox scare and the deployment of the vaccine that really wasn't a monkeypox vaccine. It was a smallpox vaccine. This is the Canary Islands rave outbreak that swept the men that have sex with men community. And then and at the time I called that fear porn, and that got a lot of traction. Multiple interviews, and it really, I think, injecting that logic, and it specifically called out CNN for posting images of smallpox children and smallpox lesions and calling them monkeypox. Okay, I recognize those images. CNN has not done that since. Yay, that's a win. And I think I played some role in injecting into the dialogue that what was going on here was unethical and it wasn't grounded in reality, that monkeypox did not represent a significant infectious threat except within that community of MSMs. And that died down, and now in the same time frame as Tedros is jamming, I don't know how else to say it, the international health regulation updates that, by the way, the Biden administration first floated, and the pandemic treaty initiative. And I saw that directly. I was in Geneva for the protests. There was clearly a weaponized narrative around bird flu, particularly in the States. It seemed to be less penetration into the UK and the European Union. But in the United States, we've just been getting bird flu, and particularly bird flu in cattle, bird flu in the milk. And there is this convergence in the United States, and I played some role in this, in raising the concerns. Actually, Jill wrote the first essay about mRNA vaccines in livestock. And Merck absolutely quietly markets a mRNA vaccine in pork, for swine herds. But there was a kind of a growing momentum that we should RNA vaccinate cattle. And the cattle industry mobilized, particularly dairy, because the mRNA tech clearly is shed in breast milk in humans. And so the logic of RNA vaccines in dairy was one of the strongest cases that could be made at state legislatures. And there was some that were moving forward with legislation to prohibit the deployment of this mRNA tech into livestock for human consumption. And so paradoxically, I'm sure it's just circumstance, that's sarcasm, there's this whole emphasis on bird flu in cows. And it was promoted as if people that are working in the dairy industry and livestock handlers that are involved in beef production, we're all going to get this deadly 50% mortality bird flu. And that turned out to be a nothing burger. And those that did get infected got conjunctivitis, in other words, a transient red eye. They weren't even coughing. And nobody went to the hospital. There was no deaths. And that whole 50% mortality narrative that had come from the World Health Organization collapsed. It tapered off just as they were moving into the boats for the international health regulation and the pandemic treaty. So a cynic's view is that one failed. We got to swap out some other threat. Another point of view is that Tedros Ghebreyesus is African. Case can be made he's a former African terrorist, but he represents that community fundamentally. And the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the Congo Basin has endemic monkeypox for decades. There's critters there that have monkeypox, and that's where it comes from. And absolutely there has been detection. Now, whether or not it was happening before, is it just we're more sensitive? There has been detection of cases outside the DRC, which weren't being detected before. And so this, and the whole narrative about pregnancy, and this is more infectious and those kinds of things, you can poke all kinds of holes in that narrative from a scientific point of view. About sampling bias and errors and that kind of stuff. But regardless, within the African CDC community, because they have a kind of a unified CDC, there was a credible concern that monkeypox, while still restricted to men that have sex with men almost exclusively and prostitutes, it seemed to be outside of its historic boundaries in the DRC and seem to be picked up more rapidly. So the suggestion that it's spreading more rapidly in that region. Now, the sampling bias is if you start saying monkeypox, 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 docs are going to diagnose more monkeypox because they're more aware of it.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith, because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.